Ladies and gentlemen, ついにあの堂島の竜がこのリングに帰ってきました。親殺しと言われた10年、その屈辱を乗り越え、この町の危機を救い出した伝説の男。
After immersing myself in days of Yakuza Kiwami 2, I'm happy to say that it holds up just as well today as the original did when it was released in 2006, just 1 year after the release of Yakuza 1. While the game is more than just a makeover, longtime fans will undoubtedly find the updates to the formula both refreshing and frustrating. Kiwami 2 finds our hero Kazuma Kiryu embroiled in another Yakuza conspiracy. As usual, you'll find yourself scouring the streets of Kamurocho and Sotenbori, taking on street punks, helping the locals, hitting up the arcades and play spots as you make your way towards one of the most amazing finales in the series' history. Very little is cut or altered, and aside from the shoehorned in introductions to the new play spots being integrated into the main plot, it never drops the pace. Even returning players will be hooked by the amazing drama unfolding in front of them. There's a few nods to Yakuza Kiwami and Yakuza 0 that have been added in for flavour, providing some continuity between releases, but overall the story remains unchanged. Yakuza 2 remains one of the best, and it's given the respect it deserves. The music, on the other hand, left a little to be desired. Yakuza 2 and its soundtrack go hand in hand. It was the first game in the series to include licensed songs, and Kiwami 2 has every track from the original game replaced with a more modern score. While I'm happy that for the first time ever the licensed music has remained intact during localization, something that I hope remains in every Yakuza game going forward, I can't help but be disappointed with the song choices. Gone are the amazing Crazy Ken band tracks from the original, replaced with an auto-tuned mess that detracts from the drama. The second the new tracks kick off, they feel completely out of place, undercutting the somber tone of the scene, and the battle music is nothing really special. Yakuza Kiwami 2 is gorgeous. Running on an updated Dragon engine allowed the team more time to flesh out the world, bringing more character into each city than ever before. There's an extra level of polish, and every area of the map is now available to you. From Kamurocho Hill's construction to the Champion District's tiny alleyways and bars, it's honestly amazing the engine handles everything so well, while producing such a bustling metropolis with almost no noticeable lag. Running at a solid 30 frames per second, even during some of the more hectic battles, while allowing even more NPCs and enemies to appear on screen, even though it's a remake, it's pushing the technology forward. Bringing over the battle engine from Yakuza 6, Kiwami 2 takes it and adds to it immensely, introducing a variety of weapons and heat actions to unleash against the hordes of thugs and assassins Kiryu will take on over the course of the game. It's nowhere near as varied as the moveset in Kiwami 1. Even with the upgrades to the engine, they still haven't managed to add the level of depth the style switching allowed for. The biggest issue with the battle system was feeling like every basic ability is locked behind either the level up screen or a side quest. While I don't mind needing to do the training with Kamaki like in the previous games, sometimes critical abilities are locked behind late game sub-stories. Take Extreme Heat Mode for example. By tapping R2 when your heat gauge is full, you can hit extra hard, allowing you to deal big damage. In Yakuza 6, you can access this ability right from the start of the game, and while in heat mode, you'd become a veritable tank. It's essential for taking on bosses when they enter their own heat mode. In Kiwami 2, this skill is locked behind training that's only unlocked a few chapters in. After unlocking Extreme Heat Mode, you discover you can only activate it when your heat bar is completely full. If a single enemy gets in an attack, you'll lose your full heat, and you won't be able to pull it off. Even then, while you're in extreme heat mode, you can still be knocked around by any other enemy like a ragdoll, unless you unlock the follow-up skill, which you can't learn without finding another NPC and doing her side quest, which isn't marked on the map. More than a few times I found myself against tough bosses wondering what to do, as I simply hadn't found the way to unlock skills that would solve the problem of constant guarding or simply bouncing off the enemy. Dealing chip damage or relying on healing items to brute force my way through became frustrating, especially in the late game. Luckily, you can now grab weapons off the street and store them for later use, or even purchase new ones from various dealers around both cities. Each one packs a punch and feels like they actually contribute more to the success of each fight than ever before. After fully powering up my hand-to-hand combat, it felt like a sword or a gun was always a quicker way to deal with my problems. Other changes to the combat include armor sets with synergies, allowing you to equip 3 pieces of gear from a matching set for a bonus buff. It's an interesting way to get you more invested in what you wear, but I feel like it could have been expanded or been a bigger deal for the more expensive sets. It's a neat addition, but mixing and matching late game armor became more useful than trying for any of the bonuses. Overall, the combat could have used a bit more balancing, and leading you towards unlocking your more useful skills would have been appreciated. Yakuza wouldn't be the game it is without the play spots, and Kiwami 2 brings back almost all of them, with a few very noticeable exceptions. In addition to things like shogi, poker, blackjack, and more, Kiryu can now visit a Gravure Idol photography studio to take erotic photos of different real-life models. During each photo shoot, if you answer their questions by forming the correct answers, you can advance to an even sexier shoot. The Cabaret Club and hostesses are gone, and replaced with Club 4-Shine hostess management. It's basically the same system from Yakuza 0 with a few tweaks, allowing Kiryu to take control of a club and manage the hostesses within. It doesn't do much to break from the formula presented in 0, and it left me feeling like it was just added on because it was popular before. I couldn't help but feel like I was just going through the motions. And the same can be said for the clan creator, which also makes its return from Yakuza 6. Only this time, you'll find Kiryu managing Majima construction. You'll help Majima fight off enemies in a top-down RTS style minigame, throwing waves of troops to battle against enemy troops until one of your groups dies. There's light amounts of strategy needed, but for the most part each mission is quickly completed and then you move on. Repetitive and boring, again it just feels like a quick way to reuse the assets from 6, with the best part being the song sung by Majima Construction employees on successful completion of missions. The Club Sega this time around gives you access to some great classic arcade games. There's an arcade perfect port of Virtua Fighter 2 and Virtual on Cyber Troopers. Great additions, if a little out of date in a modern 2006 arcade. The original Yakuza 2 contained a completely unique fighting game, and I was kinda hoping that this would be included in the remastering, but it's sadly absent. You'll also find the Toilets Urinal game. You play by having Kiryu pee on a pressure sensor and aim for the top score. And finally, the UFO catchers make their return to the series for the first time in the Dragon Engine. It's great to see them again. You'll also get access to the arena, allowing Kiryu to take on some of the toughest enemies in the game. This time, the arena is required to unlock everything from sub-stories and moves to tough clan creator characters, so it's kind of needed. Despite all of the added features, there's still some glaring omissions for longtime fans. Missing are the amazing Club Adam host missions that saw Kiryu becoming a host and seeing what it was like from the other side of the table. The other big omission is the Marietta sub-story that had Kiryu managing a hostess club and its day-to-day operations. The 4-Shine mission is fine for what it is, but these two host-based missions were fairly unique in the series, and having them missing just had me wondering why they didn't make the cut. Finally, the entire area of Shinsaicho has been completely removed. It was only a small area and really didn't need to be in the game, but having one more place to travel to, however small, would have been welcome. The last thing Kiwami 2 includes is a bonus set of playable Majima missions separate from the main game, where you play as Majima trying to solve a murder within the Tojo clan. While this is obviously just in here as fan service, playing as the Mad Dog isn't nearly as robust as I'd hoped it would be. You don't get any ability to level up or learn more moves, and the entire experience is only about 2 hours long if you just do the story content. There's optional boss fights, and you can send money and items over to Kiryu in the main campaign if you feel like helping him out. Since there's no leveling, every fight just comes down to using the same 2 heat actions or combos over and over again until you win. The gameplay just feels tacked on and half-baked. If you're a fan of Majima and Yakuza 0, prepare to have your heart played with, as the story is actually pretty strong. It's a small piece of content, and it's a fun and emotional ride. Yakuza Kiwami 2 had big shoes to fill, as many fans regard Yakuza 2 as the peak of the series in terms of story and gameplay. While this remake remains faithful in the story department, I can't help but feel it was held back by too many changes to the original, and the Yakuza 6 and 0 play spots just feel tacked on. For longtime fans, while the coat of paint looks great, under the hood it's lacking some of the things that made Yakuza 2 special. If this is your first time through, then you're in for a fantastic ride with one of the best stories and greatest characters the series has ever seen.